Derek, it is golf week.
It is golf week, and ironically, I just came off of playing 90 holes in the last 4 days of golf. I'm a little tired. I'm kind of like, all right, let's game face. It's golf week. Let's go. And ironically, we're also at a golf course.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Have you played 90 holes of golf in 4 days, Riley?
I have not. And you know me. The most I've done golfing is with you, and that's when we went to Mace. When it wasn't it wasn't Top Golf. What do you call it?
Great shots.
Great shots.
In Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Pretty fun time. We played a local course. My brother and actually another chamber member, Nathan Carges, who's with Northwestern Mutual. We played a local course here. Went on our way to Ray, Colorado, where I grew up, and they had a nice little 9-hole course in my hometown. And we played a 3-person scramble, Calcutta, so 2-day, and made a little bit of money because we bet on my dad's team. My dad gets his from the seniors. There's a nice advantage from the senior tees. And so we made a little money there. We golfed pretty good, had a fun time, and then we ended up golfing, Bill, I don't know if you've heard of Ballyneal.
Yep.
But we golfed Ballyneal, #1 rated course in Colorado the last few years. And we had a friend that we went to school with, and he's a lifetime member out there. So we were able to play Ballyneal yesterday. It's a 7-mile walk if you play well. But it's caddied, no carts, and quite the experience for us out there. And then we made her truck home.
So it sounds like a 14-mile for Riley.
Yeah, I don't know. I would, I know people will be like, "Yep, we're not going to go look for that ball."
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so they'll maybe stay pretty true to that 7-mile walk. But yeah, so we're here with Bill today. We've got some exciting things happening in Kearney as always, and they're happening in the golf industry. And so we've got improvements going on currently inside the clubhouse, outside on the greens and the fairways and tee boxes. And Bill, tell us a little bit about maybe a little bit of history with Buffalo Ridge as a golf course. It's one of the nicest 9-hole golf courses in the area. And then kind of maybe just that evolution of how we've got to today.
Sure. Well, first off, thanks for having me. I know you guys are busy, and 90 holes of golf in 4 days, for crying out loud. I can't believe you're here already today, but I'd still be at home nursing the wounds.
To be fair, I did text him like, "Hey, you remember we got this today, right?"
I was sitting in the car wash. I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. Truck got a little bugged up, but I wanted to make sure it looked good while I was driving around Kearney.
Well, perfect. So thanks for being here. So a little bit of history on the course is this course was started being designed and built in 1964 by a gentleman named Clifford Fox. When he started with this, it was a flat cornfield. There wasn't a tree on the property. There was nothing going on. He had this dream of turning it into a golf course, and that's what he did. So between 64 and 66 is when he started building the golf course. And I've been learning this as we come along, so I'm sure I'll get a little bit of this incorrect, but pretty well versed on what he did. So he started out realistically with just a flat field of nothing, and built his own nursery. So a lot of the trees that you see out here were actually grown on site in a nursery and then transplanted throughout the course as he was laying out and designing the course. So that was pretty cool. In 1966, the work was done, or not done, of course, because there's always work to be done on a golf course, but he had it to where he could open it. They had moved in the original clubhouse, which was actually a motel on the west side of town, is the way I understand it. And they moved that building in 3 different loads, which is actually pretty cool to think about. So when they opened it in 66, he ran it for, I'm guessing, probably a good 30, 35 years, because in 1996 is when they built the current clubhouse. Okay. And when they built the current clubhouse, then Steve and Pam Ross took over and had been worked on buying, well, I take that back. That's actually a little bit of a mistake, because after Cliff built it, Ron and Dorothy Fox, which is his son, took it over.
Okay.
And then they ran it for a while, and then in 96-ish, they ended up selling to Steve and Pam Ross, who had ran it up until we've taken over in the last, April 14th of this year.
So, 60 years or so. I had no idea. Maybe a former hotel.
Yeah,
right.
That's cool.
That's what I love about these is, like, you've driven past these places forever, all your life, right? And then you're learning all these cool stories that you just
the history behind
exactly
it is pretty fascinating. I think Riley saw my face. I'm like, what? No way.
Yeah. It's when you go in that building, it's actually pretty neat because you can totally see the '60s, like in the men's locker room, the carpet that must be the original carpet. It says "Nice Day" all throughout the spread of the carpet, so it's just kind of an interesting, funny looking little thing. But now it's our current cart shed and some storage stuff in there. And but yeah, when you look at that building and you think, wow. 1964, 65, they moved that up here. I mean, that's pretty cool. I like to think, and I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's close. But you know the oxen and covered wagon on the west side of town?
Yeah.
I have a feeling this had to be somehow tied into that or somewhere out in that general vicinity from what I'm kind of gathering.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Might be wrong, but
Yeah.
it
Well,
fits pretty good.
it makes sense. I think it's cool to learn about golf courses myself because I do like to golf. And it is a little bit of an art form when these guys design these courses. I mean, taking a cornfield and having a vision for that. I mean, they're artists in a sense, and I'm a washed-up artist as well. So I think it's pretty fascinating when you look at that. You know, Buffalo Hills is kind of known for, you know, some of that, and then tight greens, some little elevated greens, and I know they've got that turtle back green.
Yeah.
And so they're known for some of those things, but just a nice 9-hole. What are some things that for the course itself that you guys have said, hey, here's some things that we need to take care of to get this back to, you know, Kearney golf expectations?
Absolutely. So really a lot of things out on the course that we've had to attack. You know, we had that drought time frame from 2019 to really probably this year. And if you look at the Kearney, Nebraska area, we were smack dab in the middle of that. So we had greens that were extremely rough. The drought conditions and the motor going out on the well created no irrigation. And so we've basically rebuilt the greens, been rebuilding quite a few tee boxes, not rebuilding from the standpoint of changing them yet, which may or may not happen here in the near future, but worked all sorts of fairways. Probably the number one thing that most golfers are going to recognize when they come out here is we've lifted a lot of the cedar trees and pine trees that directly affect the flow of play. You know, when you're a 9-hole golf course, you need rounds to be played on your golf course. And when you have guys looking for their balls in cedar trees that are 60 foot around at the base, they're going to be taking some time up. So we've lifted a lot of trees, rebuilt the greens, completely rebuilt the practice green over here, which is in the process of really starting to show some nice growth. And have just worked all over on lots of different stuff. We had a severe dandelion problem, as you can imagine, with no water. The only thing that can grow are those weeds. And they were, you could be 100 yards out, smack dab in the middle of the fairway, and if you were running a yellow or white ball, you were going to struggle to find it because they just taken over.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do about that when you have no way to irrigate or keep your grass healthy. So we've got that all pretty well cleaned up, straightened out. You know, you mentioned the artistry of the golf course, which is really quite fascinating to me because being a roofing contractor by trade, I never really paid attention to why the trees are in the positions they are and why they're where they're at, and especially on a tight course like this one where you've got your small greens and you've got your tee boxes sitting right behind them. Well, you got to have protection from all them balls coming into there, so the tree placement has just been really interesting to get to learn and understand what that really is all about.
Yep. You got to protect the course, and not that golf isn't already difficult enough. But yeah, I mean, it just gives it that character. At the end of the day, I think it's great that you lifted those trees because again, no one wants to look for their golf balls for, you know, a certain amount of time. I mean, hopefully you can see it through, or maybe it ran through, and you have a decent lie that you can maybe navigate over another tree. But yeah, that'll definitely help with pace of play.
Yeah, and you know, there's thousands of trees out there, I'd guess, or maybe not thousands, but a lot. And what we did was we specifically, because we can only do so much in the first 2 months, because we got to get the doors open out here
Yes.
for full play. And so what we did is we looked at it strategically and said, okay, this should be your average landing spot for this tee box. So we tried to work those trees on both sides of that fairway that should be an average landing spot. We tried to work the trees around the greens that should have landing spots in them. And so we still have a lot of tree work to do, but we've strategically picked the ones we have, and it will. And there's no question about it. It's definitely going to increase the pace of play.
That's great.
So, and you can swing underneath them now too, which is kind of nice.
Well, and it's labor intensive to
Oh.
keep up a golf course. I mean, I have a hard enough time keeping it on my own yard, right? I mean, I got to mow. I was gone for 4 days, and but just the weeds and lawn and everything else, and fertilizing, and obviously keeping it watered. Without Mother Nature's help, I might be in a little bit of hurt there this year. But yeah, just taking care of 9 golf holes out there, and when you're dealing with very short grass, it even makes it a little more difficult at times to keep that up. So kudos to you guys. I get the amount of work that it takes to operate a golf course and keep those greens, fairways, tee boxes looking good. So that's awesome. What about inside? Riley and I walked in the clubhouse. It looks like getting a fresh coat of paint, and I forgot how large this clubhouse is. There's
Yeah.
a lot of square footage. You can fit a lot of people in there. I mean, you could have some small events in there, I would assume. But
Absolutely. Yeah, we got 4,300 square feet of pretty much wide open space in there, which is really nice. The interesting part about the paint is when we closed on April 14th, one of the very first things we did is we came in and just pretty much gutted everything out and cleaned it all up and painted all the walls, and we were just going to roll with that. Well, we hired our clubhouse manager, and I don't know, it's probably been about 3 weeks that Claire's been with us. And when we hired her, she was just getting familiar with what's going on, because we when we bought the course, we didn't buy a standard operating procedure. We didn't buy the true business, because they're just the records hadn't been kept for all of that. So she had to start from scratch. So when she started from scratch, number one was getting the alcohol and the beverages and the stuff here to make sure we're set up for what we hope our clients want. So she focused a lot on that for the first 2.5 weeks. And last Friday, she says, you know what, I think I want to paint the bar. And we said, well, all right, that sounds like a great idea. And she started painting the bar. Well, the next thing we know, she's painting all the way around, all the wainscoting and the window trim and stuff like that. So prior to Friday, none of the dark colored paint in there was there.
that looks sharp.
Yeah, it looks really good. I actually took Saturday and Sunday away from here. It's the first 2 days I've been gone from here since April 14th. And when I walked in yesterday, I was like, wow, this looks awesome. So excited that she did that, especially since we did our soft opening, or opened the course to play, maybe 5 weeks ago. I can't remember exactly what date it was. But anybody that had been here prior or between that date and basically Friday, if they haven't been here in the last 3 days, they're going to walk in here and go, holy moly, this is completely different, because it was not like that 3 days, 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So we're working on that inside the clubhouse, and as far as the space that's back there, we've already got some events booked, some graduation parties for next spring. And that's kind of what we're thinking we're going to do there. We have investors that are involved, and everybody has opinions and everybody has thoughts, and we might bring in simulators back there. We might keep it just for events. It's hard to say at this point. Our number one goal when we took this place over was golf.
Right.
We're selling golf. And if you don't have a golf course that's playable, you're just not going to have the golf getting sold. So when we hired our course superintendent, Ryan Smith, who's a Kearney guy and a golf course guru, him and Jeremy Vinzenz have come in, and they've just went to town on the course, and that was our number one focus from the beginning. So to get all the extra stuff done has been quite fun to see.
Yeah, that's great. It's neat to see business people in our community that have other businesses that said, hey, I've got a passion. I want to keep making Kearney great. And I'm gonna put my efforts and energy and resources now towards something else that's more of a recreational thing, obviously a hobby for some people. Maybe you're just learning. This would be a fabulous place for a beginner, as well as it's a challenge for a seasoned golfer as well. But I think that's cool where yourself and some others have said, you know what, let's step up and let's get this back to its glory days and
Yeah.
make it a home run.
Yeah, so I moved into the Buffalo Ridge subdivision, which is the subdivision right on the south side here of the course, in 2014. And Ed Wiltgen and I have been great friends for a long time. And the very first time we golfed this course at that, back in 2014 when we golfed it after I was living in the hood, because he lives over there as well, we were like, if this place ever comes up for sale, we got to figure out a way to make this thing happen. And it worked out so nice because we have of our 11 total investors, 7 of them live in the subdivision over here, which is real slick because we just hop on the carts, come over and work and make things happen. And it's just it's kind of interesting to kind of be able to say as a business owner and as an American that, the American dream is alive and well. You just got to know that you're going to have to work. You're going to have to put in the time and the effort, and you can make things happen as long as you are willing to do that. And with you hit the nail on the head with the majority of our investors. Number one, every investor we have is very active in the Kearney community. And number two, almost all of them are business owners. So we kind of handpicked our investors because we wanted people that have human resources knowledge. We wanted people that have marketing knowledge. We wanted people that just have general business knowledge. And so when we went and found them, we picked a group that is pretty solid. The only kicker is every one of us have a full-time job. Right. So now all of us have 2 full-time jobs.
That's how we make moves.
Yeah.
That's Riley's podcast, how we came with Chamber Chatter. It's Make a Move podcast, and that's exactly what Riley's vision was.
That's a perfect story.
Awesome.
And we haven't talked about this on the podcast yet, but this year's theme is engage. And that falls, when Bill came up with that, I was like, yes, I love it, because that's like my thing, right? Is you have to engage, you have to move, take action, and go get it.
Absolutely. Speaking of engagement, we've got a couple of investors out there right now on the course painting the bathrooms on between the 4 and 5 hole because they needed some loving and they needed painted, and I'll be doggone if they're not out there right now as we speak painting them bathrooms. That's been fun to watch too because as a laborer most of my life, I understand physical labor and I'm not afraid of physical labor. Well, some of our investors I've been utterly shocked by because we've got doctors in here that have been pumice stoning toilets. I mean, I don't know about you guys.
Yes.
I'm not pumice stoning a toilet. I won't even clean a toilet. And we had to go pumice stoning them just to try and get us to where we need to be.
Well, whatever it takes.
And they are engaged, so that's been awesome.
Oh, that's great. Do you carry a handicap, Bill?
Me personally, I don't carry a handicap, only because I kind of hung my clubs up. Well, I play once or twice a week for probably the last 4 or 5 years. Played high school golf, but my true love is walleye fishing. So,
okay.
So if I got my weekends and my free time, I'm gonna be out at the lake.
Be on a boat.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's why myself and Doug Mitchell are very consistently in the hunt for the Wally Derby whenever we're up at Johnson Lake.
That's awesome. Well, Bill, thanks for spending some time with us. We're gonna take a look at the course. I know we've got a fun ribbon cutting coming up as well, but thanks for reinvesting in something. We see that a lot in Kearney too, where somebody takes a new building and they just move their building because they need more space or whatever, and they're gonna give that a fresh look and upgrade that. And then this is kind of similar. It's really a reinvestment. It's gonna give. What I've known about people in the Kearney area is there's a lot of golfers, and about every golf course I go to, they're busy, and so this will give people another opportunity and say, hey, you want a quick round here, come out here and play. You got a driving range, you got a putting green, you can work on your game a little bit in a nice quaint atmosphere. We're out in the elements today, and it's just gorgeous here. Man,
yeah,
it's just pretty. You've got enough trees, you can stay out of the wind. So that's a nice bonus for you guys. Hopefully we can see the buffalo in the background of our podcast.
Yeah.
You can see it. But thanks again, Bill. It's been great.
Let me make a real quick comment before we log off here. You talked about a couple things that I want to comment about, but Kearney being one of them. I have been on a national roofing contractors board for about 13 years now, and every quarter we are having meetings all throughout the country. And so our president each year picks our locations where we go, no matter what we're doing. So I've been to places that most people just won't go because if you got a contractor in Ohio, he's going to pick a different spot than the contractor out in Nebraska for all of our meetings. And I've been all over this country seeing things, and I have told them for years, you know what, I love it here, but you got to understand, Kearney, Nebraska is special. It is a place where you can come, you can be as involved or as you want. And the people are phenomenal, and it's just fantastic. And they're always, everybody, whether it's a Milwaukee contractor or I don't care where they're from, it's Nebraska. Well, then all of a sudden, what comes out? 3 days ago, Kearney, Nebraska is like the number two place to be, and I just have been sharing that with my friends. Saying, so check this out, guys. You're right. I had a couple of girls that I actually tried to have moved to Nebraska to help me in my other business, and they're like, it's just not an ideal location, so I just don't think I want to do that. And so, that's what we like about it, is it's the best kept secret in America.
It is, and the secret's getting out. Obviously, the PR that we're receiving from that article from Realtor.com, I believe it was. So the secret's getting out, and you're right, Bill. Obviously, in my network, people don't understand generally how great Kearney is, and even if you see some of those things, like it's Kearney, it's in Nebraska, whatever it might be, until they get here, and they're like, wow, you hop off the interstate and there's a wow factor with the hospitality industry and all of the variety of restaurants.
Absolutely.
Right? If you like to do some recreation, there's plenty. I mean, we have whitewater.
Yeah,
right? We have some of the best golf courses around. We have great, like I said, recreation and restaurants, and that hospitality industry is key. Obviously, having a university and a community college and just everything else. And Kearney's doing it right. We just need a little more housing. I think then we'd probably grow even faster, which, I think we're up for that challenge.
Yeah, the whitewater. That was a bunch of Kearney businessmen that just decided, let's make this thing happen, and it's so cool because people come all over to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
One last thing that I thought was interesting, you talked about people restoring buildings and whatnot. My ultimate pipe dream, that's what I want to do with that building.
Okay.
I want to, and I've seen, that's kind of what I do in my real world anyway, is restoration, but I've seen a lot of the bones in there, and there's some pretty good bones, but there's also a lot of broken bones, so I'm not too sure I'm going to be able to pull off what I want to pull off. But if I were to really get done what I would love to see happen, that building will be used for people again, not just golf carts.
I like it.
Yeah.
I just got pretty excited about that. So that's awesome. Well, again, Bill, thanks for everything.
You
Riley?
bet. Thanks for
Riley,
coming
till
out.
next time. Huh?
Yep.
Hey, Riley here. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Make a Move podcast. For more content, check us out on all major social media platforms and makeamovepodcast.com. Until next time, get off your butt and make a move.